Your host, Carolyn Solo, LCSW, EMDR therapist, and mom of 3 daughters. Thank you for joining me.
Hello and welcome to episode 118 of the Future Template Parent podcast. I am your host, Dr. Carolyn Solo, PhD, LCSW, EMDR therapist, consultant, intensive therapist, mom of 3 daughters, coach for therapists, blah, blah, blah. It is full-on fall here in northern Vermont, which means the leaf-peeping tourists are out in abundance. It is gorgeous. My kids are fully back at school, and their schedules are bursting with sports and dance and piano and therapy appointments. So yes, my kids. And of course, sickness. All that comes with sickness. Hooray! Let's see, we've already had a round of a stomach virus and a nasty cold, and so kids have been staying home from school, getting picked up early. My 4-year-old developed a weird rash last week, which made me panic and think, oh my God, do we have hand, foot, mouth again? Which was a nightmare this summer. Luckily, it went away. But you parents know the struggle and the moment of like, oh God, is someone going to be sick? So yeah, we have to stay home from school. We have to pick up kids early. Parents have to deal with how it impacts our schedules, right? And juggling everything. And that's with sickness. That's like not even to mention just the general craziness of fitting work life around kid and family life every single day, even when they're healthy. So maybe this is all happening in your house too, and maybe this is resonating. But what does this have to do with EMDR intensives, you might say? Well, every fall, I have a moment of reflecting on how offering intensives in my practice changed my life. And I reflect on this in the fall in particular, because it's 3 years ago now exactly that I made the switch to offering pretty much exclusively intensives in my practice to all new clients. That was the fall of 2022. My oldest started kindergarten. We got an autism diagnosis. Our lives as parents started getting really chaotic with all that came along with the diagnosis and with dealing with how she was having difficulties in school, all the additional appointments. And I remember this was the time when I was feeling so much stress and overwhelm that I actually took a month sick leave from my practice that fall, because I was like, I can't do this. I can't keep canceling all this stuff. I can't keep like holding all these clients in my head when I can barely keep my own life straight. When I was in a consultation group at the time for people that wanted to launch intensives, and that's kind of like when I was just like, oh, I got to go all in on this. I'm just going all in. And it was a really, like, I had severe insomnia that fall. My anxiety, I have a diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder, but it's kept in check by medications pretty well and therapy. But that fall, and one of the ways I know that I'm going through a kind of spike in anxiety is when I have really bad insomnia. That fall, my insomnia was out of control, and I had that vise-like feeling in my chest all the time, where I felt like I couldn't take a breath, in spite of all the medications and stuff that I was on. So I was like, yeah, things are stressful and change needs to happen. So yeah, every fall as busy family life ramps up, sicknesses start taking us out week after week, I'm reminded again that, primarily intensives is the only way that I can run my practice now. And I have to in this season of life, and maybe always, but certainly this season of life of having 3 kids in school. And if you're a busy parent in the trenches too, maybe this resonates, especially at this time of the year. So I thought it would be a good moment to kind of reflect and revisit this topic a little. So I'm going to be honest, being a working parent can really suck. It can feel next to impossible at times, maybe most of the time. And when you're running your own business, like I am, like you probably are, it can feel like the slightest mishap is going to upend the entire delicate house of cards. When you're a solo practice owner, there is no one else to step in and see your clients or do anything. When you have a house of sick kids and you need to stay home, it's just the business doesn't run for a day. And likewise, as a parent also, you don't really have much recourse, right? Your kids are sick. Well, the school says they got to stay home. The daycare says don't bring them in. The nanny or babysitter says I'll see them when they're better. All of which is fair, but we parents still have to work apparently. So we can't get slack on our own business end, nor can we get slack on the childcare end. It's sort of, you're kind of the only one on both fronts, right? And when you run your own business like we do, a day away means a day of lost revenue. Not to mention balancing all the logistics of scheduling and rescheduling clients and cancellations that come with a kid's sick day. It's a headache, and it's often unavoidable with kids, unless you're blessed with kids who never get sick. Yay, you. But I don't think those people exist really. But yeah, it's a headache, right? And so how do intensives help out? Why is it that intensives are the only way that I can run my business anymore? Well, really, so much of it is about scheduling being so much less of a hassle. And for me, that's probably the most important thing about intensives in terms of how they make my business manageable. Because if I can't manage my schedule, I can't make money. This allows me to manage my schedule, not to mention make more money than I would. So that is huge. I actually think that for me, the scheduling, it not only helps me, but it also helps my clients. That they don't have to schedule a weekly time all the time, right? That they can fit around their own busy lives. And, I make sure that my cancellation and rescheduling policy is very clear in my intensive contract. And I go over it with people, of course. And I include this in my coaching packages for you to use and to adapt according to your own practice needs. So I need lots of flexibility in my practice. And when I have multiple cancellations that I have to process, as opposed to just one, if it's an intensive, but that's super stressful, right? If there's 6 people on my schedule for the day and I have to get in touch with them all, you leave a message and you worry that they didn't get it, and they show up and they're just sitting there, and you're like, well, I don't have much recourse. Gotta do what I gotta do. It's really, really stressful. And it's hard to plan for. And then I have to fit them all in, and you lose revenue because it's often really hard to fit them all in, so I don't miss a session. But the one day change, I'm changing one day. I have one client one day, and then I'm just going to slot them into another day. It's so much more manageable. And an intensive is 3 days total. And then, they're moving on. So, and I'm seeing fewer clients anyway, so fewer clinical hours, so less stuff to reschedule if somebody does get sick. There's a chance that maybe the sickness will fall on the day when I don't have anything scheduled if I'm working 3 days a week. All that helps. It's just so much less stressful and more manageable. And I include language about all of this in my agreement, so everybody knows. I know, my clients know, we're all on the same page. And I'm upfront whenever I do an intake about the, potential that occasionally, more often than that, that there can be unpredictability in scheduling. Since I have young children, I'm just very honest about that. And it allows me to give clients some grace too with this. Of course, if they get sick and they have an intensive day scheduled, of course, without imperiling my income, right? Since I'm setting aside essentially like a $2,000 day, $2,000 $2K day for that one person. So, rescheduling within a week, I have my own, policies and procedures about this, as you will develop as well, but very clear about those. But then I can give some clients some grace too. And I think that giving a bit of scheduling grace within reason, of course, and the reason I can give grace is because of the high rate that I charge. So I'm not, I know I'm going to get that money at some point in the month, and I have enough free time built into my month that I can move people around, that one day around if necessary. It's really hard to do that when you have 25 clients in a week and you're trying to move everybody around. So it allows me to have that flexibility and give them a little bit of scheduling grace, which is part of the intensive experience, right? Not unreasonable rescheduling, but if they have an emergency, it's not such a big deal then to be like, oh yeah, of course, we'll figure out another day this month or whatever. You're honoring the commitment on both sides, right? As the client and as the therapist, when you have them agree to this really significant treatment experience, and you're making space for it to be an optimal experience for both. Because I don't want to have a client showing up for an intensive who's sick and miserable, right? I want them to get what they're paying for, get their money's worth. I want it to feel like I'm providing them an excellent experience. And if they're sick, it's not going to be an excellent experience. If I'm not healthy, or, you know, if I'm unfocused because I know I have a sick kid at home and I'm like, when can I get out of here? I'm not providing them with the experience that they're paying for. Right. So, a transformational intensive experience is not possible if one or both of you is throwing up. Right. So, and something that comes up a lot with clients that I coach, therapists as business coaching clients, is they're like, okay, that all sounds great, but how do I get my schedule from this 25 clients a week to an intensive schedule where I do have all that time freedom and flexibility? That is hard for people. I know it's a real journey. We have attachments to clients and to certain relationships and everything. And I take all that into account. And because this is so hard, it's one of the reasons that this is an element of my coaching program, is I have each coaching client come up with a plan for how they're going to manage their current caseload, looking at where their practice is now, where they want it to be, and all the steps they have to take to get there. Like, all that stuff is built into my coaching program. So, I recognize how hard it can feel, how impossible it can feel to get to a schedule like that. And I want you to know that there's an answer and that I work with you through it. And that, like, we come up with the unique plan that works for your specific practice situation. But yeah, so this is just something I've been reflecting on, about how intensives provide me as a working mom with the flexibility I have to have at this point in my life to both be a business owner and the parent I want to be. Or as close to the parent I want to be as I can be, because God knows I'm always making mistakes there, like we all are. But that I can show up, like I can be present in both areas of my life that matter to me very, very much. And it's just been reflecting too on, like, it can feel so impossible to be a parent and a therapist, or a working person just in general, who's also trying to raise kids, run a household, be in a relationship with a spouse or a partner, or for someone to be a single parent and work, which is another level of stress entirely. It all feels so impossible as a therapist, as a working person, to do all that. Not to mention, I don't know, find a minute or two to chat with a friend, or an hour or two to fit in a workout or a massage or a walk. And as Miss Taylor Swift herself said recently, my energy is expensive. Guys, it is so expensive. Our energy is so expensive. It is our most valuable, finite, and expensive resource, okay? Let's not give it away with a schedule that crushes us and leaves us with nothing left, because there are huge ramifications in every area of our lives, personal and professional. Let's have a schedule, and intensives provide this, that allows us to show up with the energy and focus and joy we need to be the therapist we want to be the parent we want to be, the friend, the employer, the pet parent, the partner, the sister, the brother, the daughter, the son, the in-law, whatever. Okay. As we move into this busy therapist season, right? Therapist busy season, the fall and the holidays, make the transition to intensives, protect that energy, and let me help you. Okay. I have a couple of VIP day coaching spots available for you. I can get your intensives practice up and running and profitable in just a few weeks with this option, with this one-to-one option. Reach out if this sounds like what you need, or if you just might want to chat a little bit about how I can help you move your business towards this intensives model that's going to protect that expensive energy. Okay, let's do that for you. I am grateful, as always, to have you listen. And it's been, again, great to see the download numbers going way up. Lots of people discovering the podcast recently. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. And I hope I can continue to support you in a variety of ways. Take good care, everyone. Talk to you soon.